What's up, dude? Spaz here. Welcome to my channel. I just got back from the doctor's office and want to let you know what the diagnosis was, and then tell you about some funny things along the way. But I went back and met with a new doctor. I changed my insurance this past month, so I have to switch my primary care doctor. But I talked to a new doctor and explained what was going on and gave him some background on similar things I've had in the past in this area of my botte. I've injured this area a few times, and his diagnosis is that it's the same thing that I've had problems with in the past. Essentially, it's muscle spasms in my upper back and traps, my trapezius muscle, which is throwing off the basic structure of my shoulder. That's why I'm experiencing pain in my pec and occasionally down in the bicep. All those tendons run through the muscle joint. But diagnosis or prescription is a little bit more rest, better ergonomics when using my computer, some NSAIDs, which basically are ibuprofen or Tylenol, if you're not familiar with that term, and then physical therapy, which I have scheduled to start next week. So here's to hoping we get a hot physical therapist. The physical therapy I've been through for an injury, this type of injury, I'll give you a background on that in a sec. It's been intense. So about 2 years ago now, maybe more or less about a year and a half, I was playing competitive golf or trying to get back into the competitive scene, and I started experiencing a little bit of muscle spasms in my trap and then my upper back, and I was playing in a tournament, and I hit one particular shot and I felt a pop, and it was my sternum or my collarbone dislocating from my sternum, according to a doctor I went to. And since then I've had to go to physical therapy. I went to physical therapy for probably 3 months, and it was pretty grueling, guys. It was not what I was accustomed to with physical therapy, having dealt with a few different injuries. There was this process or procedure called needling, where they essentially would jab needles. It's kind of like acupuncture, but you were just trying to hit trigger points and muscles to make them release. So who knows what they're going to make me do, but I'm not too upset about it. I mean, it just is what it is, right? I mean, there's no sense of getting upset or down about it or kicking around, stones on the ground going, oh, my life is so bad. No, I'm going to use it as motivation to get back into shape, because I did get weighed in, and the amount of weight I've lost it's not okay. But I wanted to tell you about some interesting things in this visit, because I find it funny. Some people may not, but when you meet people for the first time or you go into an environment like that, certain people, receptionists or even nurses, they kind of, you can tell that they get a little bored with the repetitive daily routine. And so I always find entertainment and joy in trying to make these people laugh or bring light to their day. And I've developed the best way to answer any questions a doctor might ask you, especially a doctor you haven't seen before, when they start asking you lifestyle questions. So the first question I always get asked, or you will always get asked when you visit a doctor, is, do you drink? And the best way I figured out to respond to this, and this is something that I randomly said to a girl one night at a bar that my buddies and I still use routinely. But so he asked, do you drink? And I just responded with, when? And the look on his face, he was like, just not sure. And he's like, what? And I'm like, well, when? And he's like, do you drink ever? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I mean, like, when are we talking about it? And he's like, well, when do you drink? And I'm like, well, that's what I'm trying to ask you, is when do you want to know when I drink? And it just turned into 2 minutes. And I think he was getting annoyed towards the end, so I had to cut it off. But then then the next question was, have you in the past used drugs, or do you currently use drugs? And it was no. He asked, are you currently using, or do you do drugs? And I'm like, when? And he goes, all right, let's not start this over again. Just give me a yes or no. And I'm like, well, no. Okay, fine. Well, let's move on from there. But then I go and they're doing this screening, this office-wide screening, and according to them, it's for cholesterol, right? They just wanted to do a cholesterol test on everybody that they're seeing, but I acted as though I wasn't thoroughly convinced it was some sort of cholesterol screening. So he's like, we're going to have to, we would like to get some blood from you if you go to the lab here down in the whatever, we want to screen for cholesterol. I'm like, is that really what we're screening here, doc? And he's like, what? And I'm like, come on. I mean, I'm new to your guys' system. You can't just take my blood without giving me, a logical explanation. And this whole cholesterol thing, I'm not too sure about it. And, and he's like, are you messing with me again or what? Are we good to go here? And I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll go on my way. So then I go down to get my blood drawn. And, I sit down in the chair, and it's this weird area with, like, different booths, and they make you sit down in a booth. And I kind of had a put my foot in my mouth moment. I'm sitting down in this chair, and it literally looked like a chair you would see out of Star Trek, right? There's no arms. It's got the big back. It's kind of loungy, and it swivels rather nicely. And I sit down, and she's like, okay, lay your arms out. And so I'm just like, flop, I just lay them out there, and I'm like, pick one. She goes, all right, well, let's go with the right. And so she's like, swivel to your right and leave your arm up here. And I'm looking around, and there's like all these handlebars attached to these booths. And without thinking, I'm like, are people really that, nervous when they get their blood drawn that they need the oh shit handles for the station? And she's like, no, that's actually for people that have disabilities and a difficult time getting in and out of the chair. And I mean, this room's full of people. I'm like, fuck, this is the worst joke I could have said. And so I'm trying to redeem myself, and she's like, all right, let's go and see if we can find a vein. And I'm like, okay. She gets out that stretchy thing, and she goes to put it on my arm, and the room's dead silent, right? I mean, these people that are there, they don't want to be there. The people working there don't really want to be there. So it's all quiet. There's probably like 15 people in this area, and I'm like, shit, I haven't seen one of those since my last heroin binge. And she's like, what? And I'm like, never mind. Let's not talk about my prior life, but seriously, don't mind those track marks. And I don't have any track marks. But nobody laughed or thought it was funny. And I'm like, man, that's what I get for trying to make people's day. But all right, anyways, guys, I just wanted to share my experience with you. I apologize if I rambled or if some of you don't even care about this, but try to shed some good light on some most recent events that may appear to be kind of shitty, with me having to take some more time off or stay away from the computer a little bit more. But we'll catch you guys later. Go.